Sarah's still working.
Sarah, yeah.
Yeah. I just love this place so much that I don't like to go home. I went home and took my dog for a walk. That counts, right?
Got out and took the dogs for a walk this morning. Like, got a nice day.
It's great. I know. I love it when it's nice enough to get her out and take her on a walk, and then she gets all excited and worn out. It's good things all the way around.
How are things looking? Good.
I think we're good, but we need to practice like talking. You know what I mean? Like to make sure that we can hear. It'll be a minute though till I'm ready for that. I gotta get things that Dave wants to be able to show people and share my screen.
Karaoke?
Sure, that could be something you could do.
So we were talking, we need to, like the golf cart thing,
Mm-hmm.
up it into like, have hot dogs and stuff like that. People come
That'd be
in.
cool. I think the, why don't we, there's something, if we do something like that, which I think would be great, we have to have,
Temporary health department thing.
because that's what the Lions Club does.
Yeah, but
right?
it's pretty simple to do, I believe. We could look
Yeah.
into that.
And we just start making it a thing, you know, first Saturday of April every year.
Huh? Come
So
and get a
fun.
golf cart
I
permit.
like it.
You grab a hot dog
I'll
on
have
your
a
way
golf
out.
cart. If I am to the party though, if I don't have a golf cart, I still
Of course you can come with.
I want a golf cart at my house, but
Something like that.
I don't need to save
But you
money
see, I
or
bought a
something like
grill.
You did?
Where?
It's in the box there. I gotta
We
put it
both are like, I don't see it.
I
What are you
haven't
talking
had a
about?
chance- Haven't had a chance to put it together. I couldn't pass this deal up.
So fun.
I was looking for a grill to buy, and when I leave, I'll just leave it with the village. I don't need it, because I got a nice wood pellet grill at home.
You don't want to be Shane and have 3 different options to cook on a flat top, a gas or a pellet or a charcoal?
No.
It's ridiculous.
No, the wood pellet does great.
Your wife probably appreciates that.
Yes. So I bought that grill, and it's a simple grill. It's not, it's not a fancy grill, but it was regularly $129, which is not a bad price.
Right.
But it's a discontinued model. I got it for $49.99.
Sure, no way.
Yeah. But I mean, I got to get a
You
tank for
gotta
it.
get it right.
I gotta
Can't
get
pass
it.
that up. Can't pass
I
it up.
couldn't. So I just donate it to the village when I leave. And then you can have it.
You're saying I'm still going to be here when you leave? I'm just kidding.
Probably.
Lord knows I will be.
But that's what we can use for cooking out. But I got to put it
We need to
together.
do, we talked about doing like a winter, like crock potties, like dip thing.
Yeah,
We
can
didn't
still-
do it.
Well, we can still do it because it's still cold out. I mean, it's still not really grilling weather.
It's not. So maybe we should do that.
Yeah, let's plan something for next week. Let's do like,
Short notice shit right
right?
Let's do chili,
Next
soup,
week.
stuff like that.
Next week,
There's-
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, there's a party at 8 AM. Be here.
Well, we can do one, this week if you want, because it's not
No,
too hard.
No, I'm good. I think I'm good.
Hey, you know what we need?
I gotta finish
This is what we need.
remodeling my bathroom.
We
before I get out.
need Al Rollins and his boys to do a fish fry.
Vance Emmer.
They
Actually,
did the,
we don't
that
need
was the
them.
best fish
Hey,
fry
we don't
that I
need them.
went to.
You know
Holy
why?
crap.
Yeah, my dad
And
does
it's
it.
Lent.
We could do it. We should talk to my dad. He went, you have to go like to the hood of Springfield. Like, scary enough that my mom.
That's where they get it,
Yeah,
from some
when Shane
bad
came,
area.
Yeah, when Shane came home from Afghanistan, we did like this huge welcome home party at the house. And we decided to fry fish for it.
Mhm.
And my dad's like, oh, I'll get Vance and Al's stuff. They went to like the hood. My mom was like, Dennis, we are not getting out of the car. He's like, oh yeah, we are. She's like, we are not. He's like, and we're eating inside. She's like, we are not. What was all? My mom said, when she's like, waiting to be shot. She's like, it was awful. But they came back with all the fish and all the seasonings. It's phenomenal when they do it.
Yeah.
So good. What you missing?
I just think if there's extension cord over there, plug it in.
You
Oh,
need
I
an
have
extension cord?
one
Well, I
next
didn't
door,
wanna run it
maybe.
across where everybody's gonna be walking, so I just kinda laying.
Oh, you mean like coming this way?
Well, I was just seeing if it was possible.
We got a big one back there against the wall.
Right.
You can
Well,
plug it into this and just run
run
it.
it across.
Or this one here has space too.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I am gonna get a new extension cord because that one, it'll be fine. Because
I don't know.
You can say it's short now and he's gonna get shot.
well, because whoever, I
It'll be
don't
fine,
ever-
but-
Let me explain something to you. You know what? In my world,
Senior
I
one.
believe in an ounce of prevention is upon cure.
Right,
So if I own an extension cord that I had to put black electrical tape on,
To
it
keep
goes
it
in the garbage.
yes, 100%.
Because these are cheap.
Yep.
Oh, like it's truly like,
Yeah, so I'm getting a new one.
I was gonna say, I could probably donate one of these for you.
dear God, yeah, that's time to go.
That is pretty.
That's pretty bad.
I mean, it'll be fine because we don't have any moisture around here or anything, but, you know.
Right,
That
well,
is not a
just-
good idea.
In general.
Yeah.
So, and there, you got to Menards, you can get one that's so cheap.
Amen. Yeah, that's bad.
All right, when you're ready.
I'm ready, but what I need to know is, are we gonna be able to hear the people on the Zoom?
Well, you won't know that until anybody.
But I'm in the Zoom 2 times. So if we unmute me on this one, we should hear me there, right? Hold on.
I would think so. I would think so.
You would think that's how it works? It doesn't always work that way. But listen, just so everybody knows, before I hit unmute, it will record as soon as I hit unmute. So don't like say anything stupid or bad, because it's streaming.
Now you're putting pressure.
Pressure. Be on your best behavior when I hit unmute, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, ready?
That's gonna be going in stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want me to.
Okay. Okay. Talking there. Let's see if it comes through there.
So it's working. Love it.
I'm getting good at this game. Poor second.
Is this still recording?
I'll be right back.
Okay, we're good. Everything's muted. Dear God.
Good, because I was gonna say, Sarah, you know you can't be drinking beer in here.
Right.
I'll try not to. Got my iced tea. Can't promise what's in it. Actually, just iced tea. Okay. I'll just go hang out in the police department. Whatever works, right? Nothing wrong with that. Benefits of,
I've got a code.
like, I can go anywhere I want. I love it. I don't blame you. Sometimes that's just easier. So your dogs, will those go with you? Will you get to keep your dog? Yeah.
She works. Why would she?
Yeah. 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 That would, I mean, that would be the best.
So, I'm assuming the judge has common sense and.
I would think. Yeah. Yeah. When my husband's mom and stepdad got divorced, the dog was not really put into anything. And I remember being there the day that she was moving out. She loaded the dog in the truck. And I remember my husband going out and unloading the dog and saying, "It's ours." And she was kind of like, "What?" And he was like, "No." Like, that's just one of those things where it's like,
Yeah. No, it's gonna be in the decree. It will be written and.
yeah, there's no question then.
Right.
That's good. Because, I mean, I know I see you out walking them and stuff. So obviously you're the one that spends more and would be out of spite, I'm guessing, to keep them for her. Yeah. It's crazy how much dogs become part of your.
Yeah. I'll come, like, when I come back from Iowa, like tonight,
Mm-hmm.
she'll, like, if she stays home, she'll go to bed, they will follow her back. They'll wait till I come home and they'll come home with mine.
No.
And they stay with me.
Yeah. So yeah, you're like their person.
Yeah.
I love it.
They know who walks and who.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, like it's funny because our dog, we are all four of us pretty much the same with her, but she's funny with me because we got her in November. Shane left in April for Afghanistan for 7 months, and so we hadn't had her long. And she was like my protector. I mean, nobody was coming near me. A man couldn't come in the house without her like losing it on him. And so she's just always been kind of like mine, and loves everybody else too. But same thing though, like to go to bed, like if everyone else has gone to bed and I'm still not home or something, and I come home, she's waiting. Or like if I am sitting on the couch and she's ready to go to bed, she'll come get me. Like, come on, I'm done. Or like we call it trash TV night. A group of us girls watch like The Bachelor. Really, we just get together once a week just to hang out. And if it's at our house, she'll start running at them like, "You need to go home because I want to go to bed." Because they'll stay late. My husband will already gone to bed, and she's like, "Nope, get out of here, girls. It's time." So. My daughter is, well, she's doing high school soccer again, and it's her senior year, and they've got, I think it's 27 games, and only 5 of them are at home. So we're trying to figure out 27 they're playing. Only 5 at home. The rest are like, we're going to Moline, we're going to Glenbrook, we're going to Champaign.
What kind of schedule is that?
It's backwards. We've never had one like this. The athletic directors do it, and like typically, so like last year we went to Moline, which is like a 2-hour drive for us. Went to Moline, so typically then the next year Moline would come to us. But for some reason, I don't know if like somehow with COVID it got kind of like off schedule and they didn't really pay attention. And this is like our first like real season again since her freshman year, really. So now we are like loaded, but all away. Sucks. I mean, it's fine. I love it's good. It's just going to be a lot of traveling.
This whole traveling thing, I remember growing up.
Yeah.
I rode a bike to a ball line.
Yes.
And then you played ball,
Uh-huh.
and then you drove home.
Well, and even that's like with the Havoc up here that Shane and I started, we started that because when she was doing travel softball in Bloomington Normal, it was insane. I mean, it was our life. And I'm like, this is stupid. Right. Like, we wanted her to be able to play ball, like, and have some competition. At that point, she hadn't decided if she was doing soccer or softball in high school. So we're like, that way she can at least play at a higher level. But we're like, we're not spending every weekend, and I'm not spending the money on a hotel every weekend. So that's why we created Havoc, because they only play like 35, maybe 40 games from March all the way through July. But in town, you'll go in there and you'll play over 100 games in a summer. And that's why we created Havoc. And like Havoc, typically the fees are around $450. Oh yeah, it's insane. And that's nothing. Yeah, that's why we created this up here, because we wanted girls to be able to play
Like one team?
one team. And they travel all over. So that's why we did this, because we wanted girls to be able to play with some good competition, but still have a life and play other sports if they want to, or do whatever they want. So they play about 35 to 40 a summer. And then they pay, the fees up here are like $450, which pays for like all their tournaments, uniforms, everything. In town, they're paying anywhere from $1,000 to $1,800 to play softball. It's insane. So that's why Havoc was created, was to bring it down to that like family-oriented level so that people can have a life. I'm like, I am not about, right? And there's people who, I mean, there are people who, there's a girl, even soccer is the same way. We don't do travel soccer either. We're just not big in that whole, like, play high school, have fun, kid, but we're not going to pay. And she doesn't want to either. She came to us and was like, I don't want to pay. But there's a girl on her high school soccer team who was in Texas this weekend. I think she was in Colorado the weekend before. I mean, she plays soccer state to state to state, like every weekend. I'm like, what's the point? Afford it? Right. I mean, that's what Shane and I were both like, no. And we both work full time. It's not like we don't both work full time. I'm like, how do these? I think they probably just max out their credit cards. You have to. And at that point, and the funny thing that always makes us laugh, which probably isn't nice of us, but people are always like, oh, it'll get her a scholarship. She'll get it. And I'm like, you've probably paid more than college tuition and what you've put out for this travel crap that you're now going to get, your scholarship. I'm like, no. Nope. So I'm glad we would have stepped up anyways, but I'm glad Ellie definitely understands, and she's like, I have no desire. I'm like, good. She's like, I want to have a life. I want to show my horse. I'm like, yep, let's do it, kid. So, it's crazy.
This isn't, I mean, I didn't have to sign anything yet, so read through it if you got questions, and then on the actual, one that we put in this file, on the last page, there's a spot for you to comment, and then you can also make comments if you want. And you can even add a sheet if you want, just type up the word document and add it to it, it's up to you.
Okay. Cool. So this is the same thing I need to view?
Yeah, it looks exactly the same.
Alright. I know I've got it here.
Hopefully you get a good review.
I hope so.
Good luck.
I was bribing him.
It's kind of tough.
I'll invite him to our soup dinner.
You come to our soup lunch if he gets a good review. That's funny.
Hi. Oh, really? sorry to hear that. I hope it's nothing serious.
He fell and busted a bunch of bones in his shoulder.
Oh, no.
My goodness.
Last week.
Oh, not good.
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
Do you
Well,
have a copy of the agenda?
I don't have one with me, do you?
Mhm.
Do you have extras?
yeah, I'll just print out another one. Oh, no, I mean,
You don't have
I'll
extras.
print out a couple more. I'll go back.
Thanks, appreciate that. I was gonna steal it too.
Thank you.
I didn't bring mine tonight.
A couple more.
Thanks, Mark.
He's got everybody as
Yeah,
a leader, so.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Oh, there was a lot of cars outside, it seemed like. I don't know, it was hard fall.
Must be. Thanks so much. I meant to do that, and I forgot.
So, can I take over the owl?
You absolutely can,
I'm gonna test it
as
out.
long as you make it go that way.
I'm gonna make sure that when I spin it, you know, it picks up what I want it to pick up.
Only tables with microphones.
I don't know if you remember, I
Oh,
was gonna get information
Okay.
from other mayors at our next mayor meeting about costs and how they do their maintenance on computers.
Oh, yeah, okay,
We haven't had our mayor meeting since our last meeting, so
Okay.
I don't have anything for that.
okay.
Not yet.
I have it or not? Oh, shit.
Yeah, but it was something updated, so I don't know.
Taken home. Why does it say I'm on active meeting? I did. Oh, because it's muted. When I have my camera off, hold on, let me turn that on. Start the video.
Doing good, are you here for the
I'll
quill?
just keep us muted, then you'll have an
I already
active
got
meeting.
one. I already got an agenda.
Okay.
There we go.
I have a copy for
Take
Greg.
control.
when he gets there, et cetera.
Okay.
It still doesn't say we have an active meeting. Oh, there we go. All right.
This is the owl behaving
It
today.
is behaving. We've tested everything. It's up and running and good to go.
Yeah, what do you know?
Likes me today. Kind of an everyday thing for me and Paul.
It should work. What's up, Danny?
When is, whoever gonna come get those piles of rubble in the Casey's lot?
Well, the state police that I talked to today assured me that they were going to get it today. And when I checked on it,
I guess today's not over.
no, I guess they have till midnight, but again, I don't want, are we recording?
Nope.
Good. They have let me down again, the state police.
Well, the reason why I asked, I meant to ask you several times actually, because it seems to be a tourist attraction.
Sure.
And I was coming now, there was 3, I'm assuming they were kids.
Shane just said that last night. There's
Oh,
grade
yeah.
school kids playing in it. And that's
Over
not
there
good.
with flashlights on their cell phones, looking around in it, seeing what's in there.
Yeah, last night at like 4:30, there were like
I know.
grade school age kids. He said like
And-
climbing and
I
digging
mean,
on it, and that's no.
and
good.
they
Some of
sure-
them
They've
hurt.
made it our problem.
Yeah, they have. Well, what I'm gonna investigate and I'll be calling the state again tomorrow, if they do not come out and get those cars or have them moved, because they said they were going to, if they don't do it tomorrow, I'll figure out a way that we'll just tow it, I'll just call Joe's and see if they'll tow it for us. Now, the problem will be, is that they have all the paperwork. Well, yeah, and the state has all the paperwork. And Joe's may not come out and tow them. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, I don't know, because usually they bill the owner of the car. But I'll figure it out. Unfortunately, they were like, we'll have them moved. By the end of the day, we'll have Joe's come out. I said, we'll bring a flatbed, tell them to bring a flatbed, because they're not towing it away, they're hauling it away.
Yeah. Not
So-
rolling.
Yeah, so unfortunately, they let me down on that. Because it's a problem.
Well, I didn't mean to bring up a sore subject.
Oh, no,
Kids haven't really been
that's
there till
okay.
Just recently. The pilot.
The I-39.
Where they just tow stuff all over the place or something, or two?
Well, when we assisted with them up there with some traffic control and stuff like that. And the state asked, we need to get these vehicles off the roadway, get the roadway open. Can we move some of these? Can we put them somewhere in Hudson? Because they were putting them all over, because there's 100 of them. So I said, I'll check with Casey's, and I did, and they said that lot would be okay, so that's why they moved a couple of those vehicles there. But they were supposed to be gone. And when I called the state today, they're like, you mean they're still there? I'm like, yeah, they're still there. Well, they shouldn't be. I'm like, well, they are, so we need to move them. So they said, okay, we'll have Joe's out today. They'll be gone by the end of the day.
You should be charging them rent or something, I guess, if you get towed by the city or the state, they charge you rent for your car.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they let me down.
I heard Steve was asking about doing some different line item stuff. Do you have a Werther's line item in your budget?
No, this comes out of my own. This comes out of my own personal one, but these are very addicting.
Friend up.
I'm not gonna say how many I have in my pocket. Well, really only one more, but.
Denny needs a line item for Werther's apparently.
So
Although usually if he
Denny-
does the fish tank, we get him candy he likes, so maybe we'll do Werther's.
Denny, you can always come over here. That way we get to see your smiling face once a day when you come over to get your daily fix. These things are ridiculous.
My grams and pops always had a bowl of them. Like growing up, so you walk into grams and pops house, it was those and peppermint patties, and then we always had those.
On the spreadsheet,
Yeah.
when we get that forward,
Uh-huh.
I wanna pull up the first page,
Okay.
and I don't know how much we'll have to blow it up to be able to
I've
read
got
on
it
the
blown up
screen.
as there.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt if we magnified the center of it. The part I wanna really concentrate on.
It's over there.
is
You don't
right
care
in
about this
there.
stuff over here.
Yeah. So just, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
One more, expand.
Okay. Like that.
Yeah, we'll try it there and see if people can see it, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty
So you heard the statement.
Yeah.
pretty clear.
But at least they're.
Can you see that, Steve? Okay.
Well, thanks for calling.
Nope.
I'm gonna give you copies of these if you want to get into the training.
There you go, one.
This is just the synopsis. Remember, I sent you the full 531
Yep.
document. This is just a handout that they use in a meeting. It just tells, what it is, why you're doing it, who participated, all the different municipalities that participated. which is good, because then, as you read here, you'll be able to get the, from FEMA, once FEMA and IEMA approve this plan, then if we have an emergency, I didn't know if you did.
I'll announce it. You've been participating in it. If you wanna do the announcing and then invite us to take a copy,
Oh, okay,
that's fine.
okay, I will, when I do my little, presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I worked with Dale a little bit at the beginning on it.
Oh, that's good news.
You know,
Yeah.
Good.
You did most of the work.
So is he back home then? Good,
Because at
Yeah.
first I thought
Okay.
there was very
good.
limited participation. But it looks like they got most of them.
Well, good.
They didn't list those in PD, or, Hudson Fire.
Tired and skinny.
Hudson Fire sent one.
Or makes them weak.
So there's more here than.
Yeah, kind of build him back up and, well, good. I'm glad that he's home. That kind of takes a little bit off your plate.
No, they sent it in direct. I wanted us to work with Hudson Fire and Hudson County, this, that went the whole area. Jeff had already sent one in, or wanted to send it in on his own, so. Should be on here. And I'm pretty sure the township did too.
I can't find what we got.
Yeah, go ahead and bring it up.
Okay. Will do.
Yeah, I know Jeff told me he sent something in, so.
Okay.
I was gonna tell you,
Me? Him?
no,
Who?
not you.
What? Where?
The reports that you sent
Yeah.
about, I've done 2 of those already.
I thought you had done them.
And so I've got them ready to go for March. I'll just need a letter and I'll talk to Greg about that tonight. He just writes a letter kind of like what he's done. And we
Yeah.
attach it and we're done. So they're
Great.
ready to go hopefully tomorrow, or as soon as I get that letter from him. They're done to that point, so.
So he's been wanting to come to all the meetings, so.
Yeah, I knew that, which is nice. So,
All right. You're still going to the weekly meetings, aren't you?
Yeah, they're all.
Shane get a hold of you, Aaron? He tried calling you back. He has your stuff. He called you back the night you called him, but you didn't answer. Did you not get it? Oh, I was right there when he called you. Your voicemail picked up. Same night. Like shortly after. He was on the phone with like a gaggle alert thing he was doing for work, and then when you called, then he called you right back. So maybe you were on the phone. But either way, give him a call. He's got what you need. So.
Did I ever respond to you sending over that valve information?
No.
I know that. I was getting ready to go on vacation last week.
No worries.
I did.
Doesn't affect me. You're good.
No, I meant to thank you
oh,
for that.
no
And
worries.
I just thought of it and I was like, yeah, sure.
No worries. If I could get from you, remember you did the letter last time, just kind of saying what we've done so far.
Okay.
It's time for the quarterly report. It's due on the 15th of March. If
Okay.
you can just type up just another little blurb saying what you've done, like you're working on maps, whatever.
Yes.
Send that back to me and I can get it all scanned in and done that way.
And I'm glad you're saying that because I did look at the information you sent me and there were timetables as to when you were supposed to report back.
Yeah, March 15th is one of
Yeah,
them. Yep.
yeah. Okay. How are you?
I told you I'd start bringing copies of the agenda for you.
That really helps me.
Doing good, so.
Good.
This is Ed Fine for tonight, so.
Hi, how are you? Weather's a little different than
Can I
last.
do
Got
it?
that deep baritone.
You did beat it home in time, didn't
You
you?
know what? It was just funny because there was little white things in the air, and then the next morning it just broke loose.
Denise had it.
And I swear, the truck drivers that were driving with me, so I was driving
I mean, just like
east
life,
and then
not
south
like,
to
and I'm like,
my house. It was like they were running from it. I just
Were
felt
they?
like that.
Gotta go, going as fast as they could, as quick as.
I mean,
So,
super, super nice, nice.
Right.
Just,
But yeah, I know what you mean.
There's times you're like, I just want to go home.
For some reason it kicked me out.
Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, I was bored. I saw everybody. What was this up?
No, you're on time. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's good.
I thought that was, you know, I mean, I get woken up about winter in December and January, and then
It kicked me out. What do I need to click on?
Yeah, the worst is usually over.
yeah.
No, it sometimes just kicks me out.
Well, I got some things for Dick.
Good.
If he's not.
He's here.
It's working.
I also wanted to tell you, you know Neil Finland from Farnsworth and Wiley? He knows you. Anyway.
Okay.
Neil is involved with
Tentatively planning,
Bloomington Normal
3 o'clock Thursday.
Economic Development
You were
Group.
talking about that.
Yes.
And they're doing
Aaron
their
up
trip.
there, doing all
Okay.
my-
And I
this
have
part
to
of my
go
budget.
because
Oh, yeah,
most of it's
that'll be good.
virtual.
All right now.
Okay.
But
3
anyway,
o'clock
When
Thursday.
he gets back, he's gonna set up a meeting with us and the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District.
Excellent.
So we'll meet some of those players.
Okay. Excellent.
They're already looking at the possibility of us connecting to them.
Very good. Very
So-
good. Yeah, yeah. It's always a good thing to kind of touch, you know, the federal government with this sort of stuff, but they push most of that back down to the state level.
Here, right.
So, all right, very good.
Yeah, until the meeting begins.
So I'll
probably
be
a good
in
idea.
contact with you when he
You say
gets
unmute
back.
it, right?
That's that meeting in March.
They'll be back at the end of this week. But you guys no contact. Everybody that has that back there. No, we over there on that.
I backed up to the ditch
This
and
morning,
that,
my son's
like,
house.
acre property that's sitting on East Street.
Very refined. Yeah, behind East Street at the end of Kenneth.
Okay.
It's much
Well, I live
nicer.
over, one of the double lots on Place Station,
We're doing
backyard.
what I would call,
Okay.
we were hooking up this,
And
we had.
That wouldn't bother anybody.
And all this stuff.
I started checking into it. Wasn't on my web. We got some really good deals out there.
Supposed to be having, so they should put it on.
Yeah,
And,
I saw you did, and, Cameron put it on his.
Yeah, and then Emmerich there on Kenneth, his boy put it on
Yeah,
his.
but I knew he was talking about putting it in. I just, the only drawback is this, unfortunately, I hate to say it, I don't think I'm gonna be in Husker Hall. Where are you going? Is there a boat in there? Not right now, probably.
I don't be enough water for a shower. So, when, we got enough
Couple years. We got somebody coming in to pay.
I don't know what's their name is. We're aware when we like time it up, and I never done one. Because he was only, you know, so that's why he didn't work in the winter time because he didn't. And I was wondering, I mean, now he's got a full-time job. There's gonna be hopefully nice on fire. And I just wonder, you know, you never know what's gonna happen. If something doesn't work out with next fire and he's got a record with us. So it's bad, and then he may want a job here full time and we would have that.
Good,
how you doing? Your housework okay? Better? No, that's
But I think it's also,
Yeah.
in the political setting, for sure. Like, and,
Oh, was that?
will be down. I know,
Yeah.
we're shut down for personally.
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh, yeah. I'm thinking, like, the part that he has.
I think that's a good idea.
And I'm happy to cooperate, I mean, it doesn't have to be a fair lateral.
A little bit better. That part was better.
Kevin,
All right. Progress. Yep.
But, we're probably gonna be seeing like this.
Yeah, it's good, been good. I was there.
How was your family?
That was the last thing I heard.
You gotta take care of it. I'm afraid to say it.
Figure out. Yeah, we're.
I gotta get some.
Got 150 foot of cord to go 5. Worked out.
Yeah, there you go.
Helps a little bit at least, right? A little.
It sounds familiar.
It's not mine.
We have sound tonight?
We do, everything's working, well, at least it was.
I can hear you now. I have no wood. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I hit my mic off, so I thought it was your problem, but I guess my audio was one thing you were micing around. So I drink my audio like my. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Of course.
And Thunder and
For any of our guests that want to talk tonight, we have a sign-up sheet out here on the podium, please sign up. We're gonna start in about half a minute, so.
Zoom.
That's true, she does.
She does Zoom a lot.
You know what I mean, right? Yeah. Yeah, I love the agenda. I do. Yeah, it is.
All right, and we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Our first item on the agenda is the pledge. Everyone will please stand and join me in the pledge. pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please, roll call.
Dick Whitmore.
Here.
Joe Boyd.
Here.
Kathy Brooks. Here. Steve King.
Here.
Lynn Norris. Here. Aaron Kinder.
Here.
Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. This is all items from the treasury reports that Sarah sent out, the bills we're gonna be paying. It includes the minutes from our last regular meeting on February 1st and the minutes from the closed session meeting on February 1st. So does anybody have any questions on any of the financial statements, payment of bills, or any of the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
We should approve consent agenda.
Second.
All right, Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Kathy Brooks.
Yes.
Aaron Kinder.
Yes.
Steve King.
Yes.
Lynn Norris. Yeah.
All right, motion carries. Next on the agenda is a report from me. Mine is primarily status reports tonight. First, an update on the DCO grant. Sarah and I got all the paperwork submitted about a week and a half ago, and we have not heard back from the state about anything with it. So right now, we're assuming everything is looking pretty good. Since we sent it into the state, Denny did get an email from the low bid on the building, and the low bid that we received was short. They billed us, or they priced materials, but did not price labor. So the low bid went up $16,000 when they added labor in, and they are still the low bid. So I don't know if we have to update the DCO paperwork or not. I sent them an email and asked them. It shouldn't make any difference on the grant because we are way over the $200,000 expenditures that we should be receiving. So Sarah, can you pull up the Excel spreadsheet just to kind of recap where we're at money-wise on the grant? This is similar to what I sent out a couple weeks ago. This is the first column is the application we're going to be working on. The second column is the amount of the $200,000 grant that we will likely spend to, that's what I'm gonna recommend we spend on it. Third column is the usage, and fourth column is the total projected cost. For example, the sewer study, the total projected cost is $76,000. We can use more or less, but for initial purposes, I put down $25,775 of the DCO grant would be applied to the $76,000 sewer grant. And then the columns off to the right on the spreadsheet will show you where the rest of the funding comes from. Second category was construction, which is building additional bays on the main storage shed we have, replacing the roof on the east shed, replacing the siding on the police building. Those, with the additional labor, added up to $133,825. And the numbers to the right, DCO grant, we would apply 92,000 out of the 200 for that building. 27,000 would come from the building reserve. 14,800 would have to come from our budget next year or some other source. Third column is the equipment, which is the hydrants, the valves, and the radar signs that we need to replace in the village. Total for the equipment was $82,000. I'm sorry, the grant amount we would apply would be $82,000. The total cost was $87,000. And we would have to put $5,000 out of our budget next year to pay for the rest of the equipment. So basically, I'll send this back out to everybody. We're gonna need roughly $25,000 out of next year's budget to pay for the balances of all these projects if we want to implement all these projects next year. We do have some options. There are some things we can do to cut back a little bit.
we can look at what we're gonna be doing and discuss that at a different time. So within a month or two, I hope we have full approval from DCO to proceed. At that point in time, we'll have an agenda item to discuss what exactly we want to do and how much we can pay. Now, we will be doing, starting on the budget next week. So some of this is gonna be discussed next week or in our budget in 2 weeks also. So we don't have enough DCO money coming to pay for everything, but it'll sure put a huge dent in it. So looking forward to moving forward with some projects next year, major projects. Next item on my agenda is 2 budget meetings. We have one on March 8th and one on March 15th coming up. They will be at 7 o'clock and they'll be in the police conference room. We have a big screen TV in there. They're gonna be a lot easier for everybody to read the numbers. So for our budget meetings, we'll just need you all set up in there. There are public meetings, anybody can attend. We will try to stream those meetings and you can still attend remotely if you so desire. The next item I have is the sewer study status. Greg, if you would please kind of update us.
Yes, sir, I will. This evening, I have brought with, myself the, village map plan sheets, that we're updating. I have, 24 sheets for, Denny and whoever else would like to look at those, as we transcribe from the original drawings to drawings that are on AutoCAD that we can use as we begin to determine, likely routing for a sanitary sewer system. I'll be providing those to Denny this evening. Right now. Just so I don't forget and walk out with them. We will continue doing that once we have a master sheet with all those on it, and a number of other things will be beginning to semi-determine where lines might be able to run. We'll be looking for routing. Sarah had also provided me the hydrant valve locations and numbers, and we'll be getting those on the plan sheets also. And then Denny will be taking a look at those make sure all those are right, they're complete. And then the village mapping will start to take on a 21st century appearance, all in AutoCAD, and it will be very useful as this goes forward. Sarah also asked me to update our letter to the grant agency, which we'll do. And then it is time, now that the weather's trying to straighten itself out, we will begin contacting Bloomington Normal and starting to look at possible points of origin for that, as well as some of the other sewer options that would require property around the village.
So what do you anticipate we'll be seeing in like the next 3 months or so?
And I would think that by the next month, we'll have plan sheets, and we will start to ask, we'll have plan sheets of the village to allow us to start to do a preliminary layout, all right? And so one of our tasks is to determine a collection system within the village. Gravity sewer systems are the most advantageous because gravity works without any input from you or me. If it's a pump system, or we have to have a lift station that requires power, it requires maintenance. So we'll be looking for a gravity system where possible, lift stations where we have to. That will be determined partially by the layout of the system and where improvements have been made, and also where we're going to do treatment. So the collection system is then dependent on which treatment option would go forward. But we'll be looking at various outlet positions for that. So we would expect to have some of those preliminary determinations and having kind of hard discussions with Denny and with the board on how some of those things are going to go. An example would be as we looked at a lagoon option, we would have to have the lagoon system on a fairly large piece of property immediately adjacent, not immediately adjacent, that's too strong, in close proximity to the village. That may or may not be possible. So some of these things, again, may or may not be possible. And again, that's what the study's for, is we will be looking hard at that. So I would imagine by the April meeting, again, we'll have some preliminary questions, direction, and then from there, it'll start to gel.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions for Greg? Greg, we appreciate you coming. I know it's a little drive from Champaign here, so.
It was pleasant this evening.
Much better than last month.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. The next item on the agenda is the heating element in the east shed. Denny came to me, or Denny let me know last week that the heating unit is out again. Through discussions with Denny and Sarah, we found that it's been breaking pretty consistently. So Denny got a quote for a replacement. Sarah put together a list of the bills that we paid. And we see that we have now paid more in bills than what we paid for the unit when we installed it. So, and the motherboard is out right now, I believe.
When you put it in, it didn't even last 24 hours. And the unit itself destroyed it somehow. It's on its second or third main board.
So there's some problem that it has that's causing the motherboard to go out. He hasn't been able to diagnose it, figure it out, and it costed easily double for what it was the last time I replaced the motherboard, because there's gonna be other boards that have to be replaced. So my recommendation to the board is to replace the unit, and the quote we got was just under $5,000. And I asked Sarah how we would fund it, and we can transfer money from some of the categories that we will not use all the money for in our current budget year to the, pay for the heating element. So we would transfer $2,500 from two different temporary personnel services categories and pay for the furnace that way.
What's the guarantee on the new one?
Danny, did we get the warranty information?
No, I don't know, I'm sorry, the warranty information on it. The one that's there now, it had several times that it had, within the first year, had problems, and that was under warranty of it, but it just continues to be nothing but a problem, so. I can't speak what it would be, I would assume 1 year for sure, but I didn't ask that question.
And this is different than a furnace than what you and I would install in our house, correct?
This actually is gonna be, what they recommended is an 80% one, like you would install in your house. The one currently is a hanging unit. So this unit is like you would have in your house, and he said he recommended that because it's much easier to get access to the parts, and the parts are much cheaper than on the hanging style unit.
Danny, tell me if I'm wrong, but a hanging style unit makes me think of something that goes in a hotel room.
I don't think you can see the one back here with the curtain, in there. No, it's, I don't know for sure how to describe it, but,
It's like what you would see like in a garage.
Yeah, hanging unit is gonna be
okay.
more of a small self-contained unit. They're usually only a couple foot by a couple foot cube.
Okay, well, when you said hanging, all I could think of is, the little under window hotel.
it's about the size of the garbage can there, and it hangs from the ceiling.
Okay. Thank you. I have an idea now.
go with it never working, and we already had claims when it was still on the warranty? Do we
Oh,
have,
yeah.
is there any amendment laws or anything that?
It has, when did we get it? 17 or?
17.
We've not made it one winter without it having repairs and multiple repairs each year. And some of the first few years were under the warranty. So
No, I meant, like, since they never really got it right, and it's never worked, they won't do it.
the original company that put that in, my understanding was they were checking into that and never got anything back that we could do anything different from that. That company doesn't do, HVAC work anymore, so.
What company are you looking at now?
US Mechanical. I know one of the service guys, so.
I would say the biggest thing I would have is if we move forward on it, we need to make sure that they check power. Because it almost sounds like you're having a power issue in that building, and that's what's frying that board. With having several years of HVAC experience working for one of the bigger HVAC companies in town, motherboards just don't go out. There's nothing else in that unit to destroy that motherboard unless there's bad power coming into the unit. I would say if we go forward with the new one, we need to make sure that that is checked, because if not, we'll run into the same problems with the new unit. And I can speak to that because we've got one like everyone we've had the same issues with until we found out it was bad power.
Yeah, but shouldn't the company know that?
It took several motors and several contactors on the one out at Lake Evergreen before we found out what it was. Because it's not a common thing to look for.
I can mention that to them to check the voltage and make sure that that's.
Make sure we don't have a grounding issue. I mean, that one out there was every time we started a motor, we had a phase protector that went bad. So it would backfeed power into it and destroy it. I'd say that's what we have back here. Just a thought.
You think if we need to bring an electrician in to check the power, do that kind of testing, let's bring one in.
Okay.
Anybody on the board have any questions, or I'd like to proceed, and if we feel we need to find out what the warranty is, maybe we can make a motion conditional on having a minimum 3-year warranty or 2-year or whatever you feel comfortable with.
Is this the only bid we have? Is this one company bid?
Yeah, I haven't researched other companies. I shuffled, it's been out for a week, and I've shuffled around vehicles that I know will start in colder weather and put them down there, so I can get by.
So do we want to repair it or replace it? That's what it comes down to.
Well, my opinion. It's 5 years old. We've spent more in repairs so far than we paid for the unit. Apparently, the company is not reliable.
The original.
The original company is not reliable. I do think Denny should try and get another quote, and I think we should have a 3-year warranty, but yeah, we need to replace it because he needs to be able to depend upon having the warmth there in the winter. You just do. Yeah, you want it to be warm.
Danny, how long will it take to get a second quote?
Well, the way it's worked with my other quote, that could be easily a week probably.
Okay, because we meet again in a week.
Yeah.
We can add that as an agenda item in a week. I think it's supposed to be relatively nice weather half the time between now and our meeting. So if we can survive another week back there.
Yeah, I can certainly call up somebody else and see what I can get accomplished.
Let's get a second quote then. And Allison, can you put it on the agenda for meeting in a week, a budget meeting.
My question, does he have the unit? I mean, that's another big thing right now.
Yes, he said that, I told him that we discussed it tonight, and if you approved it, he'd be out at the end of the week to get it installed.
Because that's the other issue, anytime we get from anybody else is whether or not they can get it in. So they got it, he's ready to put it in.
It's a big issue with a lot of things.
So, I mean, that's the other route it goes.
All right, so our plan is that we will get one more bid and have that bid hopefully by our next meeting, budget meeting in next week. And we'll add that to the agenda and make a decision at that point in time then, whether to go with the bid we have or accept the new bid. Board good with that? All right. Excellent. All right, next item on the agenda is our report from Danny. Water, public property, streets and zoning. Danny?
Well, I don't have a lot tonight because I think I'm finally done being busy from driving around in circles this last month. So with that being said, I couldn't definitely have not have kept up with all the snow without, appreciate Mark and Chris for being out there driving around in circles with us, maybe not always the same hours we were, but, helping keep everybody moving and where they should be. Have to thank Tyler, and Kevin Kelly for helping me out. And, unfortunately, the last time that we plowed, the ground was thawed, so, we did a little bit of landscaping along with snow plowing, but, that's, part of the nature of the beast of that. Water usage, 2.25 million. 80,000 a day. So with those numbers, I don't think I remember talking to Sarah about where we are on the loss, but with those numbers, we have to be in good shape. It was also nice to, for me to read, and I know, Tyler and Kevin read it as well on the Hudson Happenings of, people thanking us for staying after the snow and trying to do the best we could. So that's, makes it worthwhile of doing it, for everybody. So other than that, been trying to work with, getting budget stuff, with the grant stuff for, doing that stuff. So that's about all I have, and looking forward to no more white stuff.
Okay. Before you leave, I want to thank you and your drivers and Mark and Chris for doing a great job this year. I think our roads in Hudson have been excellent shape. So I know you've come in early, put in a lot of work into this, and we really appreciate it. Not only Hudson Happenings had a lot of comments, I get comments from people all the time. So we're extremely happy with how our roads are doing it. It's, unless there's a big pile up on 39 and we get all these extra traffic. So, does anybody have any questions for Danny or comments?
You're doing great, Danny.
All right, next agenda item is Village Marshal Mark Hyde.
Right, well, Denny mentioned the snowstorm, so I'm not gonna go into a lot about it, but I do want to give a big thank you to the citizens of Hudson, because we used the call multiplier to put out a parking ban. And being that this was the second huge snowfall, I think that they're paying a lot more attention to it, and you get very little problems with me having to knock on doors and tell people to please move their cars off the street. We had a couple of them in the village. So I want to say thank you to the citizens for paying attention, keeping their vehicles off the street. As always, I did attend our EOC and EMA meetings. They're weekly meetings that we do at Zoom of all the first responders, hospitals, and the like in McLean County. During the snowstorm, we did assess Illinois State Police, McLean County Sheriff's Department by assisting stranded and arrested people that were slid off into the ditch and so forth and so on. It was pretty crazy. There was a lot of traffic out, surprisingly, and yes, people did slide off the road and those things. So we were quite busy just assisting people. If we couldn't get their car unstuck for them, we just take them to Casey's or somewhere else locally, where they wanted to go. We finished, well, I shouldn't say finished, we have a draft copy of the McLean County Multi-Jurisdictional All Hazards Mitigation Plan. And that is a big mouthful. It's a document that we've been working on for quite a while. It is a plan that we needed to have in place countywide so that if we have a disaster, we can apply for funds through FEMA. So the plan right now is in a draft copy. It's open for public comment. You can go to McLean County Emergency Management Agency website and access that. But if you want me to send you an electronic copy, I certainly can. It's 531 pages long, I believe, at this point. So I wasn't gonna print copies or anything. So, but I can send it to you, and if you want, I'll just send it to everybody, I guess, if you do it that way. I do have a short synopsis, if you want to take a copy of it and keep it, I'll give these to Steve, you can pass them down if you want. That just tells you why we did it, just a brief overview of things in there. Some of the participating agencies that were involved. There are some agencies missing, I do know, I'll have to contact them, and I think they forgot about Hudson Fire, because I know Township Fire did participate in getting put along with Hudson Township. But anyway, so take a look at the document. It's quite revealing. But the main purpose, again, is once we're done with the public input, then it will go to IEMA and FEMA for their approval. If they approve it, then we'll need to adopt it as a village and be part of it. So once we do that, then we can, if we do have a disaster, we can apply for federal and state funding. So, and yeah, that's all I have. That's just my question.
Again, my thanks to you and Chris for everything you've done during the storm. The two of you, I know, and Denny's very limited resources too. I know you guys put in some long days. We really appreciate it. So, is there any of the trustees have any questions for Mark?
You said you're gonna email all the trustees?
Yeah, I'll just email.
Okay, yeah, don't print it.
No, I don't want to have to get more printer cards. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. You know, this multi-jurisdictional mitigation plan started close to 2 years ago. And Dale was still sheriff. Dale and I worked on it, and Mark took it over, and Mark's been doing all the work lately, so we have a lot of details in it. All right, next on our list is civil defense, Jeff Thomas. Jeff's at fire meeting. As far as we know, did our sirens go off today?
No.
No.
I don't believe they went off here. I was over on North Broadway Street, and it sounded like they were going off for sure on the south end and probably on the north end, but they were not going off here in the center of town.
Okay, Sarah, would you contact Jeff Thomas to make sure he's aware they didn't go off?
Yeah, because it went off at noon.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
it
always
says,
it's not an emergency.
Just not 10 o'clock. Okay. We haven't gone through the time change yet or anything, so.
Isn't that the first Tuesday after the first Monday though, or am I just remembering that wrong?
First Tuesday, yeah.
I thought it was on the first, okay.
And I think this Tuesday was also tornado drill Tuesday for the schools. So I don't know what happened, but go ahead and let Jeff know so he can start working on that. All right, right, next item on the agenda is our citizens hearing. Allison, do we have anyone that signed up for that?
Yeah.
Please state, move your chair. Please state your name and address.
I'm Barbie Emmert, about 25 years. Or do you want to straight to a So I'm back again about the quill, and I'm trying to keep up with your timeline for your budget. I was here in the fall, so I'm trying to be on the same timeline as you for the year. I thank you for your continued support of the Hudson issue of the quill, and we have changes in board members and stuff, so I just want to tell you that it is, our local newspaper goes to 100% of our village and township residents. The quill provides local news, activities, pictures, and advertisements for our community. This is also our way of preserving Hudson's history and writing. We have this and organizations committee to be our sponsors by paying for advertisements in the quill, for which we receive 30% of each payment. Those funds are divided and they save the village and townships money on their contributions. When the village originally committed to financial support for the quill, the budget was $1,600 per year for the budget. At that time, we did not have advertisers. Our budget remains the same, but the advertising profits fluctuate. With that in mind, I'm basing this year's request as follows. April through September 2022, the amount due is $800. With the current advertising credit, we will save $240.90 for each the village and the township, leaving the current village balance due at $559.10. Since I do not know the amount of advertisers we'll have for October 22 through March 23, I'm asking for a max of $800 for those 6 months, with anticipation that our advertisers will offset that. That would be a total budget request for the next 12 months at $1,359.10. I gave all this information today for your future meeting. I'd like to thank our committee members, Jenny Rosie, Ed Pine, the Quill, the staff members, Luke and Lynn. We're all committed to working together to make this happen each month for our town. If you approve, please let me know, and I'll ask the Quill to send a statement to Sarah Hill for the first 6 months. We'll just do it 6 months at a time.
Okay. And we will start our budget next week. And the final budget will not be approved until April. So I don't know when the due date on that is gonna be.
We submit everything the Friday after you also, it'd be the Thursday following, the following week after you have a meeting. The quill comes out based on whenever your meeting is.
I understand that. When is the bill gonna come to Hudson? The village?
If you approve, would you like it before that or wait till you approve?
I'll get with you on when we need it, Barbie, if that's okay. I'll go
Because
with
usually I
it.
have to wait for approval and then we give them a bill.
And I can look at this year's budget and see where we're at, if we're gonna pay this bill before May, we're going to take care of this budget, it's already budgeted.
Yeah,
We'll wait till
this
May.
one, the first installment, that would be in April after you have.
So I will let you and Sarah figure out the timing
I'll get with you, we'll figure it out.
for the next bill we get. So you're requesting a total of $1,359.10.
Yes, and
Okay.
this first payment would just be $559.10.
Okay, who's next on the public citizens hearing?
Victoria.
Okay,
Hi, Victoria Novachenko. I am from 76 Havens Drive. Thank you, first of all, for bearing with me as this is my first board meeting ever. And thank you for Denny and Dave helping me understand the process. I'm just here to share that and I'm sure we're gonna talk more in a bit about solar ordinances, but probably a month and a half, 2 months ago, I wasn't thinking about solar at all, but I've done quite a bit of research over the past few weeks and month as an adjacent property to the first in-ground solar array that was installed in Hudson. So this is something new. We've had residents, I guess, install on the roofs, but this is the first one that's gone in the ground. And as a neighbor to that happening, it's really impacted just our view and, it questions, is it impacting our property? Do we need to plant trees, just the additional cost of that? Why is it so big? It's 20 by 30 feet. It's really, you know, just all these things that we weren't thinking about before as an adjacent property. So, the research that I've done so far, is just cursory, but have found other cities and counties in Illinois that have solar ordinance, you know, nothing major, extensive, but a little bit more guidance on, you know, the height, or can you see it from the street, things like that to help, not only those who are trying to understand, okay, how can we install solar, especially, you know, incentives and things, but also to consider the adjacent properties. So I've passed that research along, and just here if there's any questions or to provide that input. Definitely supportive of solar and wind and any kind of energy systems that, you know, we as homeowners can install. It's also interesting, I found a couple of towns who have installed or powering really their whole town with solar farms, so something where it's outside of the town, it's not necessarily in backyards and things. So there's just so many different ways of doing it, but I just appreciate you receiving the research and thinking through that as something new that's coming. I have found, you know, there is not, we do not have village ordinances for solar at this point, and then Plain County also does not have anything in the way of solar specific references at this point either. So it is new and something to consider. So thank you.
Our attorney Pat is online with us here by Zoom. Pat, have you done any work with any solar ordinances yet?
Yes, I prepared several.
Can you send us a copy for us to look at?
Sure.
Or link? You can send us a link, that'll give us some additional information. I hope the trustees will look through the information that Victoria found that some of the other towns have done as far as ordinances go.
I was just wondering, can you just give us a quick overview, what are other towns doing? What are their ordinances?
Yeah, good question. So you see a range of responses to solar. Overall, most communities that I'm working with permit roof mount solar. Some require electrical inspections. Some require structural engineer certification that the roof is fit to hold the additional load presented by the solar panels. Some communities have aesthetic-based restrictions on visibility of the panels from the street, but I'd say I see less of that now in regulation than when I first started drafting solar ordinances several years ago. So those are the primary issues for the roof mount. For the ground mount, some communities disfavor those and have prohibited ground mounts. Other communities have setbacks specific to the ground mount solar. They deal with the maximum height. And then the other issue that some communities have is with vegetation management underneath the ground mount solar. And so they have some restrictions on the manner in which the vegetation control is administered, and different people handle that differently. Some communities are okay with vegetation that's intended to be kind of prairie type natural vegetation for the area. Some communities like it to be landscaped differently, but those are the biggest issues that I see in the ordinances I prepared.
So to give you guys a little bit of history of how I've handled this in the past, is when I had the first request about for a roof mounted one, I do like I have done and we have done in the past, is I call the town normal. How do you handle it? What do you do? Can I go to can you give me some training of what I need to inspect, what I need to look for, so forth and so on. So we have 4 or 5 roof mount ones in town. I've gone on inspections and some training with the folks at the town normal. And as Pat spoke, a lot of the inspection is done with the structural engineering, that is put into that as part of the plans, as well as the main thing is, verification of the installation instructions by the manufacturer. Is it put together how it was intended to be put together? And probably the most important thing is the labeling. Is that everything labeled as where the disconnects are, that it is solar, power panel, there versus, an Ameren, in our case, panel, so that, the emergency services as well as the power company, can easily tell in a hurried situation where the disconnects are, and what this box, is for. That's been the main, inspection points. I have issued permits for every one of them and have inspected them, up to this date. When the ground mounted one, came along, I talked with Kathy about that. It's been kind of a few months in the works. And determined to follow that and label that as an accessory structure. It's not listed in our ordinance as an accessory structure, but it kind of gives us the vague determination of being able to add things at our discretion for permits. And when you look up solar array or solar panels, part of that definition is it's a structure. So then in trying to have the village be able to regulate it on some sort of manner, and not just let them put it in their front yard, I then made them follow the accessory structure path, so their setbacks can only be in the rear yard, height and total footprint, size. So that's how, working with Kathy, we came with how to handle this, but, it was a lot of, extrapolation, I guess, of how to handle it, since we don't have anything specific of where to, lump it. So I looked up again, went in the town normals, ordinances, and could find nothing that spoke of, prohibiting or any regulations other than a permit's required, and, these are the inspection points as they, passed on to me. So that's kind of where we're at as of how we currently handle, that situation.
Do you want the images or
Do you need that? Do you want me to share what you had sent me earlier today, or do you need that up there, or no?
Yeah, go ahead and put the photos up. Victoria did send some photos, and I think I included them to the trustees. We can display them here. And I invite all the trustees to drive to her house, and the solar panel is in the house just to the east of hers. You can see it from the streets, and it's a lot more meaningful when you see it in person than through the pictures. So we would like the trustees to drive by and take a look at it. Danny, I want to compliment you on working with Kathy and how you handled it.
That's what you see from the road right there. Sorry to interrupt you, Dave.
That's okay.
So it is, and I don't remember the exact dimensions, 22 by 28 or something is its ground footprint, which gives us roughly a 600 square foot footprint. And again, going back to our current accessory structure guideline, 720 is the maximum. So I felt it fell within that guidelines of what we currently have. The height is also of an accessory structure, can't be taller than the principal structure, thus being the house. So it didn't violate that. So
I don't know if I'm allowed to comment, I just wanted to, if I'm not, of the initial solar ordinances that do exist, this structure would not meet almost all of those goes because of its height, and because it's visible from the street. So that's why additional clarity might be something worth, looking
Yeah,
into.
I think we would definitely want to take a look at it. I think over the next 10 years, we're going to see more and more land-based solar systems being looked at. And I imagine the price will come down as more of them get installed.
That's why I put it under my agenda, because currently it does follow all the village's accessory structure ordinances. But it's a unique situation, I guess you'd say, because it's due to the structure of the house is why he couldn't put it on his roof. Because that happens, you know. So that's the closest guideline that we have at this time, which is why I appreciate your research, because I was doing research too when Denny and I were talking. And it was like pulling hen's teeth, finding, you know, ordinances that pertain to it. So.
I would definitely appreciate us having some sort of something in writing at bare minimum that says the village is going to treat solar arrays as an accessory structure at a bare minimum. I think if there is a future problem, that would come in handy for TAP if nothing else. But as far as height, or whether we do away with ground mount or not, I'll leave that up to you, but I would appreciate if there was some sort of guidance in the code.
A more defined guidance.
Yes.
Yeah, because solar is a new, at least for us, it's new. You know, and that's why we're here discussing it.
Pat?
Yes, sir.
Do we have the ability to suspend any new installations for 3 months while we study this? If anybody would come to Denny and ask for permit to go ahead?
If someone comes and applies for a building permit, and if they meet all the requirements of our code, we can't deny them a permit. So if you wanted, the way in which I would suggest you could implement that would be to adopt a very short ordinance that solar energy systems, including, or if you just want to do ground mount, but essentially adopt a short ordinance that says those are prohibited and not set a time limit on it, but with the expectation that within a month or 2 months, you'll have a more comprehensive ordinance to come back and repeal the last one and instead lay out what your regulatory framework is.
I would second that because it's getting permit season, and I believe last year, I have to look up, but I think I might have had 3 of them last year, or 4, and the year before that, I think maybe 1. So there's a lot of incentives through taxes and the power company itself. So I think it's a coming thing that taking several months to act on that, permit season will be half over at that point. I'll be doing this very same thing I just did in Victoria's situation.
I personally would like to see us go ahead with that ordinance then and adopt an ordinance that would prevent any, knowing that we plan to override that or reverse it 3 months from now.
I am uncomfortable with that. I can agree to it if it's got like a 60-day time limit on it. I mean, stated in the ordinance. Because Victoria's sort of the trial case, I'm so sorry. But to me, ordinances are to be guidelines, not, no, you can't do that. Like I said, it makes me uncomfortable unless it's got a definitive time on it.
Are you saying it would be ground mount only?
Yeah, it'd have to be ground mount only because the roof mounts are not the issue.
You would prohibit the ground mount is what we're saying.
Yeah, all I want to do is give us a little time to study it, and Pat's recommendation was the best way to do that is to prohibit it altogether, knowing that in a couple months from now, we would reverse that and decide whether we're just gonna treat it with our current ordinances and add it as an accessory structure or create new ordinances for it. That's what your recommendation was, wasn't it, Pat?
Yes, sir, you've correctly stated it.
So that's why I suggested what I suggested.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have a problem with the prohibiting ground mounts for a specific time during research.
Right.
It's if it doesn't have that specific time frame. Paranoid is my friend, and it says it's gonna be put on the back burner and it's just gonna sit there forever. You know, or 2 years down the line, somebody's gonna say, hey, well, they've got one, why can't I have one? Which is why I'm saying, as long as it has a definitive timeline.
That's why we have you, so we don't get this on the back burner. Forget it.
Well, I am pretty good.
So. Okay, and we have it on the agenda for discussion tonight, but we can't do any voting on it tonight. So what I will do is ask Allison to put it on the agenda for our next Tuesday meeting for discussion and vote. And then we can discuss it again and decide whether or not we want to do a vote next week.
Can you get us an ordinance by then, Pat? Just a basic.
I'll do both. As we're talking, I'll have tonight 2 samples to you. One I wrote, and one another client that I work with adopted and I reviewed, but they authored. And it gives 2 perspectives, which are different in some ways on how to regulate it. I can also have a simple ordinance prohibiting the ground mount solar systems. And I can leave in, I can have that to you by next Tuesday. That won't be a problem.
That'd be good. We have something to look at.
Yeah.
They'll take any of the hook if anybody comes and happens to apply for one. Okay, Victoria, thank you. Did anybody have any questions for Victoria?
So where they have it sitting, is there any place that they could have put it where you couldn't have seen it? Way you guys' yards are set up?
Based on the size, there's no way that we would not, you can't miss it because of the size.
So
Looking at the height of fencing, we wouldn't be able to hide it with the fence either. So it's such a large structure that our realtor has major concerns about the impact. So of course, we're concerned since that's our home and our property.
How do you view it as different than a shed?
I feel like a lot of the ordinances that have already been created are to help residents enjoy their property and not do anything majorly to the value of their property. I think that's why there's, maximum heights on grass, you can't be higher than 6 inches. You can't have unworking vehicles laying, in the yard and things like that. And I think that's really to help for those couple of things, as well as the character of our town. So I feel like with that industrial modern structure, which is much different to look at, which I look at all the time now as the adjacent property, I do feel like it's a different character of the town. And so if you did have, every third house or a lot of these large structures, it would definitely alter what we're all looking at, especially if it's allowed to be 22 by 30 here. This large structure versus maybe something smaller, that, adjacent properties could more easily screen with landscaping.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Good.
That's my job.
Good use of this research, and I can't believe the amount of research in this.
Okay, so don't take offense at this, okay?
Okay.
So basically, your problem with the structure is more the height than the actual structure. If it was laid out like tiers in a row, you wouldn't be as concerned about it because it wouldn't be as visually present.
Correct. So I can see the structure because of its size from 7 out of 11 different spaces in my home. I can see it everywhere, in the majority of our spaces. If it wasn't so tall and so wide, it would be much easier just to plant a few bushes. But at this point, we talked to an arborist, it's at least $1,200 in trees to sort of screen it. And based on its location and the view from the street, as soon as you pull into the driveway, you can't miss it. No matter what you plant, you cannot miss it. And some are, it's very subjective. Some people don't seem to mind that, others, it's not something we'll look at all the time.
Okay. Like I said, I'm trying to get a better feel of what the visual issue is.
And if you drive by, it's, like I said, you can get a better feel for it when you're walking past, or you can see how large it is. If it was just a row, like they are able to install several, rows of something smaller, it'd be much more manageable. But it does impact our view and impacts the character. We are worried if it impacts our home value, so.
Thank you. Like I said,
But I mean, saying the size, it's no bigger than a shed, is it? I mean, there's some huge sheds, especially down on the prairie, there's some huge backyard sheds. It's not bigger than those. So it's not really just the size, it's the material that it is that you don't like so much.
It's the size with that type of industrial material, and then I can see it from the curb. If it's not behind the house, like some cities make sure it's behind the house, you can't see it from the alley. But I would expect to see a barn. If they put a really big barn, I would expect that. I don't expect to look out my window and see steel and a glare, or a semi-glare from, this large sheet of black. It's very unexpected.
Okay, any other questions with Victoria? If not, I want to thank you for coming up and discussing this with us, for the research you've done. And we'll be doing more, discussion with it, so. Okay. Thank you. Was there anybody else on the citizens hearing sign up? All right, then the citizens hearing portion is over. We move on to reports of standing committees. First, we have finance, budget, contracts, and employee. Lynn?
I got nothing major tonight. I'm working on the employee handbook and getting that updated. It just got some new guidelines in support. I haven't had a chance to go through all, but I'll be sending them to Dave and then Joe and Kathy. And then scheduling a time to get together so we can start getting everything out for it.
Anything major changing?
No, it's just the minor details of things that have changed in the last 2 handbooks that we've had, some discrepancies, and then just some new laws and guidelines that we've gotta put to it. So, that's what I've seen. Those were our major concerns, so.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Lynn? Okay, not, next we have street department, trustee Phil's not here tonight. Danny, I think you already covered everything you wanted to talk about. So I think we're done with Phil. Next is ordinance zoning, Kathy.
well, my discussion has already been done, so I have nothing to present now.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Next up, we have police trustee Steve.
I don't have a whole lot either, but it's going out in the Quill in the March and April about the garage sale, and putting out there about the parking, the times, what's going on. And then we're gonna work on a day in April, or a Saturday in April that we can do a mass golf cart renewal. And that just kind of open up and drive through, get your golf cart renewal, drive on out, maybe have some refreshments, something. It's kind of a community event. So we'll get a date out on that, but it'll be one of the first couple days and a couple weekends in April. Try to get everybody licensed and that, but they can come up, they can call and make an appointment to come up and get their golf cart renewed, but we're also gonna try to just do a mass day where everybody can come up all day long. That's what we're working on now.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions for Steve? Not, next we have our water department, Joe.
I have a couple slides, but I think I'll just send it around and everybody can look at it another time. It's about the phone service, and we talked to Frontier, and Frontier can't give us VoIP because they don't do fiber here. So, you know, it's, we're paying $550 a month now. The direct quote was $250 a month. I actually priced out if we just completely roll our own, like I'm doing at my house, and it'll be like $84 a month. That's probably not a good option. I mean, it should just work.
Set up some servers, yeah.
Yeah, it's not hard. So I'll send this info out to everybody. There's not really much to discuss, and I'll give you on the agenda later to vote on if we want to switch. That's all I had.
Okay, good, thanks, Joe. Next we have public property, Aaron.
I have nothing for tonight.
Okay. My next item is the liquor commissioner report. I have nothing. There's been no activity there. And our next item on the agenda is to move into closed session, and I do have something to discuss in closed session, so I would like one of the trustees to make a motion to move into closed session.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Dawson, roll call.
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Kathy Brooks.
Yes.
Aaron Kinder.
Yes.
Steve King.
Yes.
Lynn Norris. Yes.
All right, we will adjourn for about 5 minutes. Let our audience vacate, and then we'll start our closed session.
You know what, maybe you should put it on. Oh, you're on your phone. But it's okay, 'cause it'll just start.
Yeah. That's right. Hey, Barbie, so I guess we can, well, the first Saturday is April 30th. And I think that would be too early. Usually, it'd be 5 or 6 or 7, I guess. Yeah. I don't know what came up. I got it. So, yeah, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, so this is.
Yeah, that's when you're.
I mean, I know you're not. So you want to put in kind of.
I don't
I usually do, I'll let you know, because we have to go on the next
You guys have a meeting here, everything's due here, and it comes out 14th, so if you're gonna have something, these two, it would be me. But if you did the 16th, 23rd, would that really give them a couple of days to
we have.
Yeah.